And this story is called The Story of the Flower Celebration. And this goes back in our history. Over 100 years ago, a young woman named Maya Capek came to the United States from what we now call the Czech Republic. She became a librarian, and while working at the New York Public Library, she met a man named Norbert Capek, who had also come to America from the same far-away place. They fell in love and got married in 1917.
Norbert Capek was a Baptist minister. I think I'm going to use a microphone. Are you able to hear me now? Norbert Capek was a Baptist minister, but he was beginning to doubt his religious beliefs. Maya felt the same way, and soon Norbert had resigned from the Baptist ministry, and they had both stopped going to church.
Then one day, their children said they wanted to go to Sunday school, and they chose a church to try, and when the kids came back, their parents asked them what they had learned. It sounded like the religion that they had rejected. So Norbert said that he wanted the children to try a different Sunday school the next week. This went on for weeks. The children would go off to a new Sunday school, they would tell what they learned when they got home, and Norbert would ask them to please try another church.
That went on until one Sunday when the children went to a Unitarian church. And when they came home and told what they had learned, Norbert and Maya asked the children to return again to the Unitarian church because the parents liked what they heard. Soon, Norbert and Maya decided that they too would like to go to the Unitarian church, and they liked it so much that the whole family became members.
At about this time, their homeland became an independent country called Czechoslovakia, and the Capeks returned to their homeland to start a Unitarian church there in the city of Prague. Most members of their new church had left other religions to become Unitarians, and many of these people did not want to be reminded of the religions that they had left behind. In 1923, Norbert and Maya Capek decided to create a new ritual for their congregation, a flower celebration, where everyone exchanged flowers to symbolize how all people are connected, just as no two flowers are exactly alike, no two people are exactly the same. And like flowers, each of us has the power to make the world a better and beautiful place.
Within 10 years, this new Unitarian church grew to 3,000 members, the largest Unitarian church in the world. But within another 10 years, the Second World War began. It was a terrible time. Maya Capek came to the United States to raise money to help people who were without homes and family, people who had left their homeland behind because of the war. And while she was in the United States, the Nazis invaded Czechoslovakia, arrested Norbert Capek because he had spoken out for freedom, and they put him into a concentration camp at Dachau. Norbert died there at that concentration camp in 1942.
After the war, Maya Capek stayed in the United States. She was very sad about her husband's death. She continued helping people who had been hurt by the war by working with the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Agency. She also brought the beautiful flower celebration to us here in the United States. And each year, when we have our own flower celebration, we give thanks to Maya Capek for sharing this wonderful ritual with us here in the United States. Today, let's remember these two amazing people, knowing we are each special and unique, just like each one of these special, lovely flowers. And that is our story.
Live in the moment. Live in the moment. If there is one spiritual teaching that permeates our culture today, this is probably the one, at least the culture of people who are trying to be more present to life. We are reminded again and again that living in the here and now is critical to savoring what is good in life, and living in the present is important because this is the only time we will experience this very moment. And a day like today, which is a day of flowers, of words that are meaningful, of noticing small things that capture beauty and people who bring much beauty into our lives. These are days that we remember our small connections to people as they walk by us and the invisible, but still visible to us, threads of the interdependent web of life which binds us each to one another. In a few moments, we're going to partake in this century-old ritual, almost century-old ritual, and I do invite you to be in the moment, to be present to all that is happening here, the wonderful excess of people, of flowers, of movement and motion. And in our tradition, we also know that what happens in any particular present moment is tied both to what has happened in the past and what will happen in the future. A core tenet of many of the 500 nations of native people who inhabited this continent prior to European arrival is the seventh generation principle that each action should include awareness of its results on 7 generations to come. That's a pretty awesome standard, maybe one that's a little beyond us, and yet we do know that what we do in today's moments will touch tomorrow's and tomorrow's and tomorrow's and tomorrow's. And ritual, like the one we are about to partake in, ritual is like the chain that connects the present to the past and also forward to the future. Norbert Capek constructed this ritual because he understood, particularly in his time, how people under stress, undergoing threats and changes, people faced with huge and insurmountable concerns need to be reminded of something that endures and something that is simple and recurrent, like the beauty of flowers. Ritual reminds us that this world holds more than we can know, even when we are, in fact, grounded in the here and now, even when we are passionate about being of this world. Ritual lets us touch a certain kind of basic, natural eternity. And I want to be clear, being people who live in the moment in this world is not for sissies. There are some Unitarian Universalist young adults who come back after a year or after 2, and they tell me that they're pretty disappointed because the world beyond cons and why are you doesn't always have things work the way they think they should, the way they were taught they should. And their ideals sometimes can seem unattainable, and we all know as people of high ideals who believe in the potential of human life and flourishing and the importance of all existence, what that means to have high ideals and how hard that can be. Our ceremonies say that we understand what it means to be a dreamer in an impossible, improbable world, and also that we understand that flowers will fade, and some of our hopes and our dreams will fade with them, and yet we are part of a larger frame, something which will outlast us. Norbert Capek, living as he did from 1870 to 1942, think about that, what happened in the world, the conflicts and the changes in that time. He saw many things, some good and some terrible in his lifetime, and he performed this simple ritual the last time inside the walls of the concentration camp in which he died. He offered eternal hope in the face of that atrocity, and he wrote this: "It is worthwhile for me to live and bravely fight for saintly ideals, although disappointed 1,000 times, and perhaps even to fall in this fight when everything would seem in vain. Blow, angry winds, through my stony body. You will not conquer my soul. I have lived in the center of eternity. My soul will be eternal, and my living was worth it. Whatever has been set upon from all sides, but who has their soul unconquered, is welcome in the chorus of heroes. Whoever has broken their shackles and given wings to their mind will march into a golden future." Dr. Capek found what is awesome in the sense of that which is worthy of awe. And his ritual reminds us that sometimes life gives us flowers and sometimes it shows us the most barren of grounds. Some of us here today are experiencing a world of abundance and others a more time of loss. But as we take our flowers this morning, let us embrace the eternal tie between joy and struggle. Because this moment, we live in the present. And within it, we also live amidst eternity.